Committee members, we received an email from Ms. Tapahi timed at 2:16. It says amendment for Exhibit E, Exhibit G, and ETF. Committee members, can you confirm you received this document?
Got a compliment from the speaker's office, but it's on you. But can you include me in the amendments? Yes.
Committee members, did you receive the amendment?
I got it. Delegate Begay.
Thank you, Delegate Begay. And so we will wait for a motion if this amendment is in order. Thank you.
This is a delegate. What time was the amendment set?
Thank you, Chair Henio. On my end, I received this at 2:16. And it was sent to your Navajo Nation account.
Okay, thank you for that, Samantha. She was on my phone, but eventually I'll get it.
Hello, I received the amendments for Exhibit E and G and PTF. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Delegate Brown. Vice Chair Smith, did you receive the amendment?
Good afternoon, Chair Pro Tem. So do we need to do separate amendments for each of these, or can we combine them?
Thank you, Delegate Brown. This is as one amendment. So it's up to the amending party if they want to motion to for this amendment or they want to modify.
Okay, Chair Pro Tem, can I motion for these amendments, Ms. that was emailed to us?
Yes, thank you, Delegate Brown. So you motion, this will be Amendment 3. If staff can read it into the record, and then I will ask for a second. Thank you. Ms. Nakai?
Thank you, Shadeja, and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. This is the third amendment to legislation number 0182-21. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we could hear you, Ms. Nakai.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. 1, on page 5, start at line 4, add a new paragraph in the body of the legislation as follows. J, permanent fund. This is all new language. J, permanent trust fund. The Office of Management and Budget has reported by memorandum dated August 31, 2021, that the permanent trust fund account currently has generated interest income of $3,569,000, which amount is considered excess funds that are available for unmet needs. Of this amount, the Navajo Nation appropriates the following amounts. 1, $3 million to the 45 local governance certified chapters certified pursuant to 26 NNC Section 102B to be divided equally among 45 chapters for use as a 3% general wage adjustments for chapter employees' wages and salaries for FY 2022. 2, $120,000 to the Telecommun chapter for professional/contractual services for the construction and installation of broadband internet equipment and provision of related services that will serve Telecommun chapter and other nearby Navajo Nation communities. 3, $449,000 to the Capital Outlay Matching Fund Special Revenue Fund account. 2, in Exhibit E, add a new line number 18 at the bottom of the fixed cost budget summary table as follows. Column 1, new. Column 2, office rental, NNHRC. Column 3, $30,481. Recalculate all totals as appropriate to account for the $30,481 increase appropriated via this amendment. Replace the original Exhibit E with a new revised Exhibit F that will reflect the changes described in this paragraph 2 and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 3, in Exhibit G, replace the $438,479 allocation to business unit 113014 Daltix Tuba City for senior citizens bands with $418,479. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $20,000 allocated via this amendment to business unit 109008, Office of Navajo Scholarship and Financial Assistance for Denebazad College Fund for students. 4, in Exhibit G, delete entirely the $88,479 allocation to business unit 115002, grazing officials Arizona only for Arizona grazing official stipends. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $61,393 allocated via this amendment to business units 108014 through 108027 Chinle agency chapters for chapter official stipends. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $27,086 allocated via this amendment to business unit 107022 OOC administration for temporary personnel. 5, replace the original Exhibit G with this new revised Exhibit G that will reflect the changes in paragraphs 3 through 4 of this amendment and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 6, renumber or reletter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel, with notice to the sponsors of the legislation, are hereby authorized to make technical amendments to this legislation as necessary and appropriate to correct grammatical and/or Scrivener's errors, to correct numerical errors, so long as such edits effectuate the committee's intent in approving this legislation. This amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in any other committee amendment which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. That concludes reading.
Yeah, thank you, Shada. So thank you, Ms. Tapahi, for this. If I'm in order, there does need to be a modification to this amendment. The request was for the 45 local governance certified chapters to receive $3,000 each to cover their wage adjustment. My calculation, committee members, is because this is specifically to be used for general wage adjustment for chapter employees, the $3 million would be giving each certified chapter approximately $66,000. I don't think that was the intent when we spoke prior to the recess. And requesting this amendment, I thought that Delcon chapter professional contract would come out of the personal lapse allocation for Delegate Begay, and the remaining would go into the capital outlay match funding. So Ms. Tapahi, if you could clarify before I ask for a second. Ms. Tapahi, are you on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Lurleen, and I apologize for that. I can fix that and send that out if you give me two minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tapahi. So to clarify, I did send an email. So what it looks like, it's so it's 3,000 for each 45 certified chapters for their GWA, because they didn't get the allocation, and then it would be an additional $3,000 for this year's 3% GWA, is my understanding. So that would be 45 times 6,000. I could do that quick, simple math. On my side, I have it at 270,000.
Madam Chair, this is Lurleen.
Yes, Ms. Tapahi?
I did the calculation. Well, Mariana did it for me. She comes up with 135,000, multiplying 3,000 by 45 chapters.
Yes, Ms. Tapahi, that would be the amount to assist the certified chapters with the GWA allocation. And the committee voted to add for this upcoming fiscal year a 3%, and so the chapters would need that funding because they're not part of the Navajo Nation plan. So it would be 6,000 for each chapter. So just double the amount that Ms. Khan correctly.
I'm sorry, I thought it was 3,000 per chapter. It's supposed to be 6,000 per chapter?
Yeah, 3,000 goes
Yes.
to the general wage adjustment from 2021, and the other 3,000 is to cover
Perspective. Okay, I'll do 6,000 for each fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Committee members, if you're on the line and staff, we're just modifying the amendment before there's a second to the motion. So we're just being patient, but we all are here on the line. Thank you.
For the record, yellow hair back on the line.
Oh, yes, Delegate Yellow Hair, if you can, I know you were having some technical issues, but the amendment was sent out to the committee at 2:16. If you're in the office, maybe staff can print it out, or if you could get the copy to review. There was a motion by Delegate Brown. There was a correction in some of the amendment numbers, so that's what we're reviewing, and we're waiting for our team at Legislative Council to provide that modification. Thank you, Delegate Yellow Hair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Potent Chair. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I just advised amendment out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tapahi. So committee members and our relatives on the line, Ms. Tapahi sent out the email at 2:16 to the committee. And I will open that up. Thank you, Ms. Tapahi. I do want to clarify with Delegate Begay. It's 120,000, Shiaz. Were you modifying your Exhibit G with this request? Delegate Begay, are you on the line? We're not hearing Delegate Begay.
Yeah, I'm here, Shadeja. It's Delegate McKay.
Oh, okay. With this
Yeah.
modified amendment, were you requesting the 120,000 from the permanent trust fund in earn interest, or were you going to amend your Exhibit G amount?
Back to Shadeja, Amber Carney. The 120,000 for .com chapter was modifying from the permanent trust fund, that $3.5 million, and then
Okay.
plus that.
Thank you for
with that. Okay.
Okay, I'll leave it up to the committee members. Okay, thank you. Delegate Brown, did you receive the modified amendment?
Let me double check again. Oh, revised amendment. Okay, yes, I did get it.
Delegate Brown, did you still want to make the motion?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Delegate Brown. Committee members, I'll need a second.
Delegate McKay, second.
Okay, second by Delegate Begay. Committee members or sponsor, do you have any questions to this amendment? Not hearing any, I'll ask, or I'm sorry, Ms. Nakai, do we need to reread Amendment Section 1 back into the record since it was modified? Or is it just rereading the modified language in Section 1J1? Ms. Nakai?
Okay, Amendment 3 to legislation number 0182-21 on page 5, start at line 4, add a new paragraph in the body of the legislation as follows. So J, permanent trust fund, that new language remains the same. Under 1, the change is $3,000 to each of the 45 local governance certified chapters certified pursuant to 26 NNC section 102B, a total of $135,000 for use as a 3% general wage adjustment for chapter employees' wages and salaries for fiscal year 2021, and $3,000 to each of the local governance certified chapters, $135,000 for the same purpose for FY 2022. Votem.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Nakai. So committee members, with that read into the record, are there any questions? Not hearing any. Shada, Ms. Nelson, can you call for the vote with our roll call? Thank you.
Sure, Shadeja, Pro Tem Chair and BNF committee members. Roll call vote for amendment number 3. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote?
I agree.
Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henya votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I'll vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
Without vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Pro Tem, Madam Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative and 0 opposing, and Madam Pro Tem Chair not voting. Madam Chair, Pro Tem Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. I appreciate that. So for the record, committee members, we do have a revised version of the COAs and legislative concerns that was emailed out. Or before I start with this, Ms. Nakai, if you could make sure everyone receives a copy of that revised amendment, that would be helpful, just so that everyone is aware on the call of that amendment language. But moving on to conditions of appropriations and legislative concern, is Vice Chair Smith on the line? Or
Yes, I'm here.
okay, yeah, Vice Chair Smith, we're at the point if you wanted to ask a question or wanted to make the amendment for your condition of appropriation and legislative concern. Vice Chair Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. Also, thank you for being a pro temp this far. Yes, I do. I'd like to make that amendment. I'm looking for that amendment right as from speaking. That amendment should be sent to me at 2:20 p.m. Make a motion for that amendment, Honorable Crotty. It's at 2:20 p.m. sent by our legislative council. There's 2 of them. One is a condition of appropriation. One is a legislative concern. I'm not sure exactly how we should approach this, but I think maybe we should do the legislative concern. Are we on legislative concern? Or are we on condition of appropriation? There's 2 of them. Pro temp, Chairwoman.
Vice Chair Smith, thank you for the question. Ms. Tapahi, can you provide Vice Chair Smith with guidance on how to move forward with the amendments to condition of appropriation and legislative concern? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just realized that the replacement exhibits were already approved by the committee, so it's necessary for me to send you an amendment which will simply add the language that he wanted to both Exhibit H, the conditions of appropriation, and Exhibit I, the legislative concerns. So in the next 2 minutes, I will send that out very quickly here.
Thank you, Ms. Tapahi, for that guidance. Vice Chair Smith?
Yes, I can wait patiently. Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Smith. So committee members will wait a few minutes as Ms. Tapahi revises the COAs and legislative concerns. At this time, committee members, are there any other amendments that are pending the committee for action? Okay, thank you. I think on my end, I've received all of the modified amendments that were requested. We replaced Exhibit G, pair the PTF language, and the Human Rights Commission amendment. And so now we're on to the last item, which is the legislative concern and condition of appropriation. Ms. Nakai, as Pro Tem, what I just need to know in supporting the committee, when will this resolution be ready for signature? And what's the timeline to get the documents in order by Navikia?
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. The committee report will be ready as soon as we get the exhibits from the OMB. We are exchanging emails at this time, and we need those exhibits, the revised exhibits for this budget legislation today, so that we can forward those attached to the signed committee report and the vote tally sheet. And that needs to go into the legislation section today so that it's ready Tuesday. As you know, Monday is a holiday. And so we need to be ready to go Tuesday morning for the NABI deliberation on the budget legislation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nakai. I know that OMB, we just made some modifications. If you could give the committee an idea when those exhibits will be completed, that would be helpful. So I also want to say, while I appreciate being pro tem, I'm not in the Window Rock vicinity if we're wanting to sign this resolution today. And so I'm thinking if Delegate Yellowhair, if you're in the Window Rock vicinity, you may want to pro tem. You may want to pro tem so that you could sign the committee report if it's prepared today. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Pro Tem, Chair for Budget Finance Committee, Shahid. Pro Tem Chair, Honorable Crowdy, may I speak too? I have the floor.
Yes, I'm about to give you pro tem, but if you want to say something prior to
that. I had a issue. One thing to relates to under a natural resource that is veterinarians, that the medicines are really high. I don't think this is under a legislative concern or others appropriations. Well, it's not in there. This was my concern about the medication are too high with Navajo Nation veterinarian, and therefore our Navajo go take their livestock off reservation like Gallup, New Mexico veterinarian. They usually take their livestock there. Shemayaja area, maybe it should be maybe a legislative concerns on that one. If it's legitimate, may I ask the sponsor to Mr. Honorable Henio? Back to you, Pro Temp Chair. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Delegate Yellowhair, and thank you for reminding the committee that you did raise that legislative concern earlier. Just please let us know if you have the business unit, but I'll ask sponsor Mr. Henio, Chair Henio, how you wanted to move forward on this request regarding Delegate Yellowhair's legislative concern. Chair Henio?
Again, Senator Pro Tem Chair and Senator Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. With that, we would have to work with Office of Legislative Counsel if there needs to be another amendment added with this legislative concern. I need to put in the writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Henio, for that recommendation. Delegate Yellowhair, do you have a response, or do you have the information regarding the business unit and entity individual responsible?
Thank you, Pro Temp Chair. Yeah, I would like to, Mr. Dr. Shabala is on the line, that which we brought this to his attention during our regular budget meeting. May I get help from Mr. Shabala? Back to you, Pro Temp Chair. Yeah.
Great question. Thank you, Delegate Yellowhair. If your question is regarding the business unit and the recommendation was to get this in order, at this time, I'm going to call on Dr. Shabala if he could provide Delegate Yellowhair the necessary information to develop the legislative concern. Dr. Shabala Shiaj, are you on the line? Guys, you have to press *6. There you go. Dr. Shabala, if you're talking, the committee cannot hear you. Staff, I'm not sure if Dr. Shabala is coming up on your end.
Pro Temp Chair, could you put me in the queue, please? This is Vice Chair Smith.
Yes, Vice Chair Smith, I'm going to call for Dr. Shabala one more time, and we'll go to you, Shash. Dr. Shabala, are you there? Okay, you may be having some technical difficulties. We still can't hear you. Delegate Yellowhair, if you could get with Dr. Shabala, and I believe our legislative team can help you get that legislative concern ready by Nabakia, and that will be by next Tuesday. Unless you have any other recommendations, Delegate Yellowhair.
Thank you, Pro Temp Chair. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it for that, the recommendation. Yeah.
Vice Chair Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Claudia, with the chair of the Pro Temp, the Budget Finance Committee hearing. This conditions of appropriation that we're discussing, that was given to us by the Legislative Council. If you scroll down to Division of Public Safety and number 6, I recall that that was fulfilled in the 2021, and it was within compliance by the OMB report and also by Executive Director Delmar. It deals with the reestablishment of the DPS Drug and Gang Task Force. If we put this back in there, we're I guess regurgitating that, and if they already have the task force, this number 6 is obsolete. They did fulfill that task, so I just wanted to bring that to the attention. I don't know if I need to request for an amendment to amend this before we do. I think it was passed, so I need a little guidance on that, Pro Temp Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Smith, for that concern. Ms. Tapahi, what would be the guidance to the committee? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch, is that a condition of appropriation or a legislative concern?
Thank you, Ms. Tapahi. So it's under conditions of appropriation, Division of Public Safety, number 6.
I see it, yes. And so the question is to just delete that. Does the committee wish to just delete that? And I can provide an amendment for that if you give me about 2 minutes.
We'll go back to Vice Chair Smith. Vice Chair Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman. Appreciate that, and I also appreciate Legislative Council. If it's that easy to fix that, then that's fine. There's no need to put that in as a condition of appropriation, which has already been fulfilled. Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Smith. So as Legislative Council makes that amendment, Vice Chair Smith, are you ready with your amendment?
Thank you again, Honorable Pro Temp Chairwoman. I'm looking for it. I'm hoping that this may be it. Yes, it's
okay,
under 2:50 p.m. It's adding amendment to COA, and it has Exhibit H and Exhibit I. I'm not sure if that would be in order to make it as one amendment, because it does have Exhibit H as a conditions of appropriation, and Exhibit I is the legislative concern. Could we have a little bit of help from legislative counsel on that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice Chair Smith. Mr. Pahi, I know you're helping get the other amendment ready, but if you could answer Vice Chair Smith's questions regarding combining both of these exhibits on one amendment. Thank you, Mr. Pahi.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll make sure I have this question correct. Is the question whether it's appropriate to have the amendment to both Exhibit H, the conditions of appropriation, and Exhibit I, the legislative concerns? Is it appropriate to put those both in one amendment? Is that the question?
Thank you, Mr. Pahi. Vice Chair Smith?
Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman. I appreciate that. Let me have the floor. Yes, that is the question, because one is condition of appropriation, the other one is legislative concern. If it's appropriate to do that, that was the question. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Pahi, you have the floor.
Thank you. My answer is yes. I don't see anything wrong with that as long as it's clear, as long as the committee's intent is clear. And the Office of Legislative Counsel will work with the Office of Legislative Services to prepare the final clean version of everything for when it's prepared in the form of a resolution from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pahi. Vice Chair Smith, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman. Yes, I do have well, that's not actually a follow-up. I'd like to make a motion to have this read to the record on behalf of the amendment for Exhibit H and Exhibit I. That's my motion. Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman.
Yes, thank you. Motion by Vice Chair Smith. Ms. Nakai, can you read the amendment into the record? Thank you.
Thank you. This is Amendment 4 to legislation number 0182-21. In Exhibit H on page 4, add the following new condition of appropriation after the paragraph pertaining to the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Underscored language, Office of the Controller, OOC, and Office of Management and Budget, OMB. 1, the OOC and OMB shall create appropriate business unit numbers for all capital improvement projects and other projects that have been fully funded with Navajo Nation Council appropriations during fiscal year 2021 and in the comprehensive budget for FY 2022 and funded with other federal, state, or private funds. By the end of the second quarter FY 2022, the OOC and OMB shall provide a joint report, both verbal and in writing, to the Budget and Finance Committee regarding the streamlining and expediting of the issuance of business unit numbers for said projects. 2, in Exhibit 1 on page 6, add the following new legislative concern after the paragraph pertaining to the Office of the President and Vice President, OPVP. New language, Office of the Controller, OOC, and Office of Management and Budget, OMB. 1, the OOC and OMB should immediately create appropriate business unit numbers for all capital improvement projects and other projects that have been fully funded with Navajo Nation Council appropriations during the fiscal year 2021 and in the comprehensive budget for FY 2022 and funded with other federal, state, or private funds. By the end of second quarter FY 2022, the OMB or the OOC and OMB should provide a joint report, both verbal and in writing to the Budget and Finance Committee regarding the streamlining and expediting of the issuance of business unit numbers for said projects. And it has, number 3 is the paragraph that has been attached to all these amendments. Renumber or re-letter succeeding paragraph sections and exhibits as necessary and appropriate the Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel with notice to the sponsors of the legislation here is hereby authorized to make technical edits to this legislation as necessary and appropriate to correct grammatical and or scrivener's errors, to correct numerical errors so long as such edits effectuate the committee's intent in approving this legislation. This amendment should supersede inconsistent language contained in any other committee amendment, which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. That completes the reading.
Thank you, Ms. Nakai. Vice Chair Smith, before I add or recognize a second, Mr. Pahi did email out you're deleting the COA. Did you want to modify to add that to this motion?
Thank you, Pro Temp Chairwoman. If I'm in order and if that's appropriate, through the guidance of Legislative Council, yes, I'd like to add that into this amendment. Therefore, we'll be in line on exactly what we're doing. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Smith. Ms. Nakai, if you have that language, if you could also read that into the record. It was sent at 3:02.
Madam Chair, this is Lurleen. May I ask a quick question?
Yes, please, Ms. Kapahi, you have the floor.
Thank you. Shall I add that deletion of the Drug and Gang Task Force to the other amendment for the exhibit so that there's just one? Should I combine that in together into one?
Yes, Mr. Pahi, Vice Chair Smith is modifying the amendment. So if you could, and he asked if he's in order. So if there's no legal issue, that would be the request of Vice Chair Smith.
I can do that then. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll get that out in about 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tapahi. I appreciate that. Ms. Nakai, do you have a amendment to read into the record?
Yes, I do. So for Amendment 4, we would add a clause which would become number 3 in that. As a third paragraph, it would say our third clause 3 in Exhibit H on page 3, delete the entirety of paragraph 6 as follows. 6, by the end of second quarter FY 2022, the DPS director shall reestablish the DPS Drug and Gang Task Force. And so that's all deleted language. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Ms. Nakai. Vice Chair Smith, is that your motion?
Yes, Pro Temp Chairwoman, that's my motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Smith. I appreciate that. Committee members, is there a second on the motion for COA and legislative concerns?
I'll give again. I'll make a second.
Thank you. Second by Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Committee members, are there any questions on the floor? Not hearing any questions. Shada, Ms. Nelson, can you help us with the roll call vote?
Sure, Madam Pro Tem Chair and the Budget and Finance Committee members, roll call vote for amendment number 4. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I'll vote green too.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Madam Pro Tem Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative and 0 opposing, and Madam Pro Tem Chair not voting. Madam Pro Tem Chair?
Yeah, thank you, Shada, for the vote. Committee members, at this time, I'm going to relinquish back the pro tem to Vice Chair Smith. In listening to Delegate Yellowhair's concern, I reviewed the unmet needs request, and the Navajo Nation Department, the veterinary department, does have a request to provide more veterinary services at a low cost rate. And so I'm going to ask for an amendment if we could meet that need with the permanent trust fund interest, and also, I didn't see this, committee members, but there was an animal control program was asking for additional personnel requests as a direct and immediate response to the dog maulings across Navajo Nation. So by email, I'm going to make that request, but I did want to defer that pro tem back to Vice Chair Smith. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairwoman, for taking over the gavel for the time being. Appreciate that. We work together and we can move things on behalf of the budget here. At this point in time, committee members, is there any questions or any amendments to this legislation that's before us? 0182-21. Committee members?
Chair, Chair, Vice Chairman, this is Delegate Yellowhair.
Agushi, Honorable Yellowhair, I'll give you the floor. You have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, Vice Chairman, and thank you very much, Madam Chair, for doing a good job for taking care of part of this comprehensive budget FY22. This morning, we request for some change in the Exhibit G, the total amount that I was requesting, which I met with the Mr. BL's personal staff and to turn in the total amount of corrections that what needs to be and report to in the Exhibit G. That's my request, if that's correct, on Exhibit G for the controllers amount, how much I give to them, and also a stipend checks to Chinle Central Agency, if that's correct. I'm asking for that one, Mr. Honorable Raymond Smith, Chairman, Vice Chairman.
Well, thank you, Honorable Yellowhair. This question that you have, I guess we can turn it to the sponsor of the legislation. Sponsor, Chair Henio, you have the floor.
Vice Chair Smith, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, regarding your just to reallocate and redo the exhibit that's already in place right now, as far as the allocation for the personnel lapse savings again. I still need to work with Office of Management and Budget to give them the business units and the dollar amounts. That way they start working if they already have it. Mr. Vial or Ms. Lisa Jen. Office of Management and Budget, are you on the line?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. This is Lisa Jim with OMB. Regarding Delegate Yellowhair's question, yes, we will OMB will work on the permanent fund lapse fund allocation exhibit, and I believe that was Exhibit D. We will redo that and give the OOC administration, the 27,086 that Delegate Yellow Hair is requesting. Mr. Chair, committee members.
Okay, back to you, Vice Chair Smith. Thank you for that, Chair Henio, as a sponsor of this legislation. Committee members, any other concerns on behalf of this? Honorable Yellow Hair, did that answer your question on behalf of your concern? Honorable Yellow Hair?
Yes. I'd like to do a follow-up, Vice Chairman. There also a 61,393 to be allocated to a Chinle Central Agency for a Chinle stipend checks in the amount of 693 too. So that means I have zero out my balance on that one. So that's also she have to Lisa, and back to sponsor, and also back to Mr. Bial. Thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman. Yeah, that's my. She need to read that one too. 61,393. She have that. They have that number too. Vice Chairman. Yeah.
Negotiation Chair, Honorable Yellow Hair. I'll turn the floor back over to Honorable Chair Henio. What Honorable Yellow Hair has stated. You have the floor.
Again, Vice Chair Smith. I'd like to regarding this. OMB, are you on the line?
Thank you, Chair, committee members. This is Lisa Jim again. I believe your question was regarding if we received the documents from Delegate Yellow Hair regarding Chinle Agency. Yes, we did. We received his documents, which is taking 61,393 and giving it to the Chinle Agency chapter stipends, and he's not including Chinle chapter, but the rest of the chapters from Chinle Agency are accounted for. Mr. Chair, committee members.
Thank you. Back to you, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair Henio and OMB for answering that question. Committee members, any other questions or follow-up regarding the legislation on 0182-21? Committee members.
Follow up, Vice Chairman, Pro Temp Chair. This is Delegate Yellow Hair.
Yes, Honorable Yellow Hair. Chair, you have the floor. Proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, OMB. That's a very excellent. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful.
Committee members, any other amendments or questions for this legislation?
Pro Tem Chair, this is Delegate Crotty.
Honorable Crotty, I'll let you have the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem. I'd like to ask Legislative Council. A few minutes ago, I sent the amendment request to help with the veterinary program's cost. If I could get a time frame on how long it'll take for that amendment. Chair, I think we do have some individuals from Department of Natural Resources that are on the line to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. I'll go ahead and refer that back to Chair Henio as sponsor of the legislation. Chair Henio, you have the floor. Legislative Council, are you available for the question that was posed by Honorable Crotty? Legislative Council?
Yes. Right now it's 3:15 p.m. I just received the email at 3:12. That was 3 minutes ago. So I'm gonna have to take a look at this and see what needs to be done. Let me open this attachment here. I don't know if OMB is on the line. If I may ask, if this in order to approve this amendment requested by Delegate Crotty, which of the exhibits would need to be revised? That's my question.
Thank you, Legislative Council. OMB, are you available to question that Legislative Council has posed to you? OMB?
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. That was exactly what we were wondering also, because the 3.5 was already allocated by the previous amendment, which gave the 3,000 to the 45 certified chapters, 120,000 to Delcon, and 3.179 to the capital outlay for the chapters. So that 3.5 was already allocated. And with this result, we're wondering where the extra 976 would be coming from. Mr. Chair, committee members.
Thank you for that, OMB. The question is, where's the additional dollars coming from? Sponsor of the proposed amendment, Honorable Crotty, do you have the answer to that? I'll turn the floor over to you, Honorable Crotty.
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem Chair. This request for the unmet need would come out of the allocation from the Permanent Trust Fund that was entered into the capital outlay match. So it would take from that fund to fund the unmet need for the veterinary program and animal control. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, coming out from the Permanent Trust Fund from the capital to fund the unmet needs. OMB, back to you. Give you the floor, OMB.
Thank you, Vice Chair, committee members. So the 3.179 to the capital outlay would be reduced by the 976,131. So 2,202,869 will now be given to capital outlay match, and 976,131 will be given, with $45,000 of that given to the veterinary livestock program, 450,000, and Fish and Wildlife Animal Control, 526,131. Chair, committee members.
Thank you for that, OMB. Back to Honorable Crotty, is that where you're moving this funds, and that's the amount that's actually read off by OMB? You have the floor, Honorable Crotty.
Thank you, Pro Tem Chair. Yes, that would be the intent of the amendment. Thank you.
Committee members, we have a motion for amendment. Is it, I guess, Legislative Council is trying to draft up the language on that. So we do have the figures here in front of us. This question goes back to Legislative Council, since the answer has been provided by OMB or through Honorable Crotty requesting the PTF from capital to go to unmet needs. How much time do you need, Legislative Council, to come up with this amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it sounds like this is an amendment to an amendment. I'm not exactly sure. I will have to figure this out. If I can get about 15 or 20 minutes, I think I can figure this out.
Thank you, Legislative Council. We'll give you time to figure that out. Committee members, we'll grant that 20 minutes, a little extra time. It is now 3:21, and we will take a brief recess to get the amendments going, unless there's others that we can consider, Budget and Finance Committee members. Well, Legislative Council is working this amendment out. Committee members, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Vice Chair, is that the only the thing that they'll be working on? The amendment that they'll be working on? Is there any other? Thank you.
Ahead, Lashda, for asking that question. Yes, that is currently the only amendment that's being posed right now. Don't see any other amendments that are on or being emailed, so therefore, question is yes, it's the only one. Committee members,
thank you for that.
concerns or questions for this legislation to Chair and you, committee members? If not, I'll call for a recess at 3:22 p.m. We'll reconvene at whatever time, 20 minutes will give us 40. Let's make it 3:45. Return at 3:45, committee members. We are in recess now, up till 3:45. Thank you.
Hello there. Are we on recess?
Yes, we're on recess for 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I lost signal coming in from Yatahita here, so back online. I'll be waiting.
So this is Delegate Amber Tanis-Bakrati. While we're on recess, I was sent a message from our Facebook page that while we're in recess, if a delegate can explain what's happening with the budget process. So today, Budget and Finance, we are on legislation 0182-21. This is an action relating to Budget and Finance and Navajo committees and to the Navajo Nation Council. This title has been amended, but this is what was on our agenda. So approving the Navajo Nation fiscal year 2022 comprehensive budget, waiving 12 NNC. So that's our Appropriation Act. These laws, although we've had some challenges with keeping them updated, you can find all of the available codes on the Navajo Nation website. There is a tab, and you could download the laws. So Section 12 is the Appropriation Act. Oh, I'm sorry. Title 12 is the Appropriation Act. So we're waiving parts of the Appropriation Act, 820I, Section 860, Section 840B. We did strike over Title 12 NNC Section 2001, and we're also waiving resolution number CF0711. That's the agenda. If you need a full copy of the legislation, you can go on the council. We do have, with the Office of Legislative Services, we call it DIBS, but it's Navajo Nation Office of Legislative Services Public Report. I am going to go ahead and put this website in the comment section of Facebook. So if you want to review the whole document, you'll have everything that we see as delegates when this legislation is posted. What you may not have access to, and we could ask, let me write this down, we could ask Legislative Council or Legislative Services as we're making amendments, we will need to create a portal or a space for the amendments. Let me write that down as a recommendation so that the public can see and follow the discussion. And that might be a recommendation. So I'm on the Facebook account, and it's a blank screen. So maybe we could be a little bit more interactive and be able to see these amendments. So for example, the amendments, when we're adding new language, will be underlined, and when we're striking out language from the document, will be overstricken. Everything needs to be done to change the legislation. It has to have public debate. There has to be a vote, and any type of modifications need to be concurred, and there's an action on. So for Budget and Finance Committee, we've had several amendments to update this document because the next committee will be the Navajo Committee on Tuesday. So for this document, what has changed was we updated the condition of appropriations. That's, I'm going to pull that up. You can find that language so for council, what we have is what we call conditions of appropriations. So what our legislative council, our lawyers do is from the committee, we identify areas of concern, and we'll create a legislative concern and give a timeline when the program needs to address the issue. It's usually done by the quarters of the fiscal year. And if they do not turn in those documents or return back to the oversight with a written report, then the council does have the opportunity to move forward with a condition of appropriation. And what that does is if the program doesn't address the issue, the council or committee has the opportunity to hold back their travel funds. So the person responsible to address the issue will not be able to travel, or the council has the authority to freeze or to, I'm trying to look for the right verbiage because it does get a little technical, their pay by 10%. And so currently, the current conditions of appropriation, I'm not sure if they were, I can't remember if they were read into the record, but I have them here. And so we do have for the Department of Health, the senior program, the Division of Aging and Long-Term Care Support. So the first condition of appropriation is the DALTEC director shall prepare a plan to address the repairs, maintenance, and capital improvement needs for all existing DALTEC operated facilities. As part of this plan, the DALTEC director shall research and investigate all potential sources for funding from the federal, state, Navajo Nation, and private sources. So here's the directive. The DALTEC director shall complete this plan and provide a report both verbally and in writing to HES, so that's Health, Education, Human Services Committee, by the end of the third quarter fiscal year 2022. So the end of the third quarter, that gives the program notice that this is a concern with the council, this is an ongoing issue, and they have until June of next year to develop this plan and to submit it to their oversight committee. So what our Office of Management and Budget will do is ask the program if they have completed this directive. And so when we went through the budget process, our Office of Management and Budget will report back to the committees and let them know if the programs are in compliant or in non-compliant. And so that's an example of conditions of appropriation. There's a few more that I can go over, or sometimes I'm technical savvy and I can save this and post it into the comments, and then you'll be able to view it. So let me go back to the chat and just see if there's any other questions. I think my computer knows it's Friday and is being super slow. Okay. Okay, so far I just put in the link to find the legislation. Let's see. There's about 11 people online. So if you don't have any other questions at this time, I hope that gives you an idea of where we're at. I could work on some of these amendments that the committee has been discussing today. So we have been in session since 8 o'clock, and we do have to take breaks to allow our legislative council to do a quick review of our requests. And they are the ones who create the language. And when it comes to the budget, we have to work with the Office of Management and Budget, the sponsor of the legislation, and Office of the Controller to give guidance to legislative council to make sure, first and foremost, any restricted accounts, the funding is being properly used. The second area is to make sure all of the members match. And so if there's any questions in terms of the different funds we're addressing, if you look at the legislative language of 0182-21, you can find, starting on page 2, you'll start seeing the breakdown of special funds and the amount. So that's just set aside. So Navajo Nation law requires the council to set aside, sometimes it's a specific percentage or a certain amount to these 6 funds. So every year, every fiscal year, the Navajo Nation Permanent Trust Fund receives 12% of the revenue projection. Navajo Nation Veterans Trust Fund receives 4%. The Navajo Nation Land Acquisition Trust Fund receives 2%. And then $2 million goes into the Capital Outlay Match Funding Special Revenue Fund, $2 million to the Navajo Nation Water Rights Claim Fund, and then $12.4 million to the Diné Higher Education Grant Fund. And as you read through the legislation, you then will see a very high level, because this is legislation that covers $1,515,807,711. So the budget process began earlier this year. It takes many months, many hours to pull together, and so this can give you a high-level summary of where that $1.5 billion is allocated. This contains our revenue that Navajo Nation generates through taxes, coal royalties, even like court fees are all totaled, and a large portion of this budget comes from the federal partners. So over a large portion of this, I'd say like maybe 1.2 billion. You could see the breakdown, how much, when it says general fund, that means that's Navajo Nation dollars. So on page 2, we have a line on the left-hand side. So line 13, that's where you could see how much funding the Navajo Nation has. So it created this fiscal year, or it created in revenue, a projection of the revenue that we'll collect this year is $173,299,815. So the second item on line 14, number 2, is $25 million. So indirect cost funds, that comes from negotiating with our federal government on how much it costs to administer some of these federal grants. Number 3 is about $3 million, and that's the general wage adjustment account. That's to provide the 3% general wage adjustment from the last fiscal year. So the council and the president passed a 3%, so that's the amount that we need to give to the programs to cover that cost. So you'll see here, number 4, the $12.4 million for higher education set-aside account. We do have to set aside $3.5 million for external cash match. Usually this will go to like to Head Start or our food distribution program. Some of our federal programs require a cash match. Historically, there's been some challenges like with Head Start. So the nation does try to set aside those dollars to make sure that there's funding for that federal cash match to be in compliance with the contracts that we sign with our federal partners. Number 6 is $5,630,875. This is the personal lapse fund. So this is that resolution CF07-11, and I'll try to post it to the comments too, or maybe I think I can make a Dropbox file and then you can search in there for some of these documents. So personal lapse fund, when there's vacancies on the nation, so this is a policy, I'm gonna put my policy hat on. We have, I think with all of our positions or all of our funding, we have just over 1,000 vacancies, but positions that are funded by the Navajo Nation General Fund, the Navajo Nation dollars, I think, I don't remember the estimate, but it's more than 300 positions. So what happens with that funding is then the programs are not able to move that money or transfer that money. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. So what they do is they have to put it all in a fund account. And back in 2007, oh, sorry. Oh, so we're going to be off of recess. So let me just wrap this up. I have to make a timer for everything. So that's the personal lapse fund. So that's the amount of money that was not used to hire individuals. And then let me go down the last three. So the 91 million, 91.8 million, those are proprietary fund accounts. Those are usually programs that collect some type of money. The 104 million are fiduciary fund accounts, 37.8 million for special revenue, internal fund accounts, and we can go over this later. And then lastly, here you go with the big one, 1,058,598,864 into the special revenue external funds account. So that's how much funding Navajo Nation gets from our federal program. I used to be a district assistant for the late Delegate Nelson Begay, and he would always tease me to say that in Navajo. And so I encourage anyone who could say that amount, $1,058,598,864. In Navajo, you earn 5 stars for today. Okay, we're going to go back into session.
Vice Chair Smith back on call. Good afternoon, committee members. Ramona, could we have a roll call vote? Roll call?
Sure, Vice Chairman, roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council. Honorable Jamie Henyo,
I'm present.
thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo is present. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., Honorable Raymond Smith Jr.,
Fairly here, present, thank you.
okay, thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. is present. Honorable Jimmy Yellow Hair, Honorable Jimmy Yellow Hair, Honorable Amber Kenneth Bakati,
Sada, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Balcrotty. I'm present. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth Bakati is present. Honorable Nathaniel Brown,
Delegate Brown is present.
thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown is present. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, Honorable Elmer P. Begay, Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, Vice Chairman, there's 4 members present upon roll call and 2 members not entering roll call. Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Nana, for the roll call. We have a quorum, so let's continue on with the legislation 0182-21. I think Legislative Council may have completed the amendment. I don't see it here presently. Honorable Chairwoman Roddy, I'll let you have the floor.
Thank you, Pro Tem Smith. So if I could ask Legislative Council, I don't have the proposed amendment language. If I could just ask Legislative Council if that was sent out to the committee and we could move forward with the amendment. Thank you. Vice Chair, well, if Legislative Council needs a few more minutes, I wanted to ask if I did receive the email from Dr. Upshaw regarding the response when it comes to the veterinary cost for livestock. I'm not sure if Delegate Yellowhair wanted to ask any additional other questions while we prepare this amendment. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Karate. The email that was sent by Dr. Upshaw was at 3:22 p.m. Honorable Yellowhair, have you opened that up? Honorable Yellowhair, I'll turn the floor over to you. Honorable Yellowhair. Honorable Yellowhair going once. Honorable Yellowhair going twice. Honorable Yellowhair going 3 times. No response from Honorable Yellow Hair. Back to Honorable Crotty. We do have the email from Dr. Upshaw regarding the prices of health herd and medication costs. Back to you, Honorable Crotty.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Smith. I'm not sure if Dr. Upshaw's on the line or any of the representatives. Can we see if the program's on the line? I know that there's a challenge. I was on the RDC leadership meeting with animal control. They do have a PowerPoint, so I can ask staff if they could send that out to committee members. Or I could just ask the Legislative Council if we're ready with the amendment, we can move forward. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. We'll wait for the PowerPoint. Back to committee members. Any questions while we're waiting for the amendment on this legislation? I don't hear any. Back to sponsor, Honorable Jamie Henyo. I'll let you have the floor.
Honorable Delegate, Honorable Chair, this is Lurleen. I need about 2 more minutes, please. Okay, it's in there. Now watch.
Legislative, we heard your request for a couple more minutes. We'll honor that. Karen Henry, are you still on board with us?
It won't let me.
We may have lost our sponsor. We have a co-sponsor, though. Honorable Crotty. Honorable Crotty, are you the co-sponsor?
Pro Tem Chair, yes, I did sign on as co-sponsor. If the committee needs that support, I'm here.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. As co-sponsor, I think we're about to wrap this up. We just need to get this amendment taken care of, and legislative concerns have been provided and conditions of appropriation. I don't think there's any other amendments coming forth. I think this is the one that's pending from Legislative Council, which will give Legislative Council a couple more minutes. Back to you, Honorable Crotty.
Thank you, Pro Tem. So as co-sponsor, and also if I could ask my colleagues, I was hoping Delegate Yellow Hair was on the line. This would help if I could get my colleagues to motion and second this amendment. This would help alleviate some of the costs for the veterinary livestock program and provide funding to animal control so they could address the issues with the stray dogs, herds of dogs. As we all know, we lost a young life earlier this year in the Fort Defiance area. So this was the recommendation on how Navajo Nation can address this issue. Thank you, Vice Chair. So I think I'm in order as co-sponsor or a sponsor, I can still motion an amendment. If that's possible, I'm also willing to do that to support the committee in this amendment. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you for that, Honorable Crotty. Yes, you can do the amendment even though you are a co-sponsor for this amendment, and that is in order. Do we have Honorable Yellow Hair on? Yellow Hair, are you with us this afternoon? Jake.
Yeah, I'm back on the line right now. Here, Vice Chairman, I'm back on the line. This is Delegate Yellow Hair.
Okay, thank you. There was a question posed by Honorable Crotty. Have you received that email sent at 3:22 by Dr. Upshaw regarding the medication costs or prices of health or herd health? Honorable Crotty had asked the question and was waiting for your response on that. Do you have that email, Jay? Honorable Yellow Hair.
I don't have the email with me. Can you just read it to me? As our advisor, read it to me. I'm driving right now, and I'm unable to open my cell phone. Then I can answer it. You don't mind, Vice Chairman, Pro Tem Chair for Budget and Finance Committee.
Negotiation Chair, I'll turn the floor over to the requesting amending party, Honorable Crotty.
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem. On my end, I have not the document, but let me refresh. And then I could ask, then I could make the motion, Pro Tem. And now I just realized what I can do is read the email from Dr. Upshaw Baya regarding the medication cost. So while we wait for that amendment, at 3:22, Dr. Upshaw sent an email to committee members. Good afternoon. I did get notification for a question from Honorable Yellow Hair regarding the price of medication or price of herd health in comparison to Gallup. So she had some follow-up questions. Dr. Upshaw asked, is this the cost just of vaccination and dewormers? Which ones? Some of our back orders, some have been on back orders through our suppliers. And the second question is this cost of herd health? Because my understanding is the veterinary clinic in Gallup does not provide herd health services. And then the Navajo Nation veterinary program is one of the few, if not only, clinic to still provide herd health service. We purchase our medications through 3 veterinary suppliers. We do not buy in bulk as medications do expire and can only purchase on what we sell over the counter or conducting herd health services. Thank you. If you have any other questions, you can contact me, Dr. Upshaw. So that was the email that we received, Delegate Yellowhair, regarding your questions.
Negotiate, thank you, Honorable Chair. Reading that, I'll turn the floor over to Honorable Yellowhair. Honorable Yellowhair, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I opened up a part here along the highway, and I read that one along the Madam Chair. Yeah, not very much help, but it's just kind of a little, not very much in what I really wanted. And but they need to, however, they need to reduce the price in 2022, compare prices, all medications with other like Gallup. I think there were 1 or 2 places they had 2 veterinarians over there, and I don't know about Farmington. I think they really need to check the price, or at least maybe 1% less cost than Gallup. This probably can help, but not much help. Vice Chairman, Pro Tem Chair, thank you. This is Delegate Yellowhair.
Thank you for that, Honorable Yellowhair. Back to sponsor of the proposed amendment, Honorable Crotty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pro Tem. I would need to ask Legislative Council if that's been sent out to the committee. I don't have it in my email. If it was sent out, I would need our staff to help read it into the record. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Crowder. We just received it. It's amendment number 5 to legislation number 0182-21. And we have amendment 3, strike all. Well, I'm not going to read that. I'll let the, Shada, could you read that into record? We have a motion on the floor for the amendment number 5.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. This is amendment number 5 to legislation number 0182-21. Strike all of the amendment number 3 in its entirety and add the following to the legislation. 1, on page 5, start at line 4, add a new paragraph in the body of the legislation as follows. J, permanent trust fund. The Office of Management and Budget has reported by memorandum dated August 31, 2021, that the permanent trust fund account currently has generated interest income of $3,569,000, which amount is considered excess funds that are available for unmet needs. Of this amount, the Navajo Nation appropriates the following amounts. One, $3,000 to each of the 45 local governance certified chapters certified pursuant to 26 NNC section 102B, a total of $135,000 for use as a 3% general wage adjustment for chapter employees' wages and salaries for fiscal year 2021, and $3,000 to each of the local governance certified chapters, $135,000 for the same purpose for FY 2022. Two, $120,000 to the Rokon chapter for professional contractual services, construction and installation of broadband internet equipment and provision of related services that will serve the Telecommun chapter and other nearby Navajo Nation communities. Three, $450,000 to the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture, Veterinary and Livestock Program, business unit number 112034. Four, $526,131 to the Navajo Nation Department of Fish and Wildlife Animal Control Program, business unit 1150. Five, the remaining amount of $2,202,869 is allocated to the capital outlay match funding special revenue fund account. Two, in Exhibit E at a new line 18 at the bottom of the fixed cost budget summary table as follows: column 1 new, column 2 office rental NNHRC, column 3 $30,481. Recalculate all totals as appropriate to account for the $30,481 increase appropriated. Replace the original Exhibit E with a new revised Exhibit E that will reflect the changes described in paragraph 2 and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 3, in Exhibit G, replace the $438,479 allocation to Business Unit 113014 Daltex to the city for senior citizen vans with $418,479. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $20,000 allocated via this amendment to Business Unit 109008 Office of Navajo Scholarship and Financial Assistance for the Nebazad College Fund for students. For in Exhibit G, delete entirely the $88,479 allocation to Business Unit 115002 grazing officials, Arizona only, for Arizona grazing official stipends. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $61,393 allocated via this amendment to business units 108014 through 108027, Chinle Agency chapters for chapter official stipends. Insert a new line in the personnel lapse fund allocations table showing the amount of $27,086 allocated via this amendment to business unit 107022 OOC administration for temporary personnel. 5, replace the original Exhibit G with a new revised Exhibit G that will reflect the changes in paragraphs 3 through 4 of this amendment and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 6, renumber or reletter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel, with notice to the sponsors of the legislation, are hereby authorized to make technical edits to this legislation as necessary and appropriate to correct grammatical and/or scrivener's errors, to correct numerical errors, so long as such edits effectuate the committee's intent in approving this legislation. This amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in any other committee amendment which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. And that concludes the reading of Amendment 5. And Vice Chair, can you give me the names of the motion and second, please?
We have a motion, but we don't have a second. Thank you for that reading. Shade. Committee members, we have Amendment 5. We have a motion. Second. Motion by
Pro
Honorable
Tem-
Crowdy.
I'm sorry, Pro Tem, question of privilege. Regarding this amendment, can Legislative Council help me understand number 2, 3, 4, and 5? Are these just cleanup technical amendments? I just need to be clear as the motioning party. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Thank you for that question of privilege, Honorable Crowdy. Legislative Council, question posed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes.
You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I briefly met during the 20-minute break with Ms. Nakai, and I also met with Mariana Khan to help me a little bit with this. We decided that the easiest thing would, rather than to amend an amendment, which amendment is number 3, that allocated the, I believe it was 3 million something or other to the capital outlay match funding special revenue account. That was in amendment number 3 that the committee voted on and did adopt. So rather than try to delete that and then amend that, we decided the cleanest thing in order to accommodate Honorable Delegate Crotty's request regarding the funding for the veterinary livestock program and animal control program, we decided the easiest thing was just to pull amendment 3 and then substitute it with amendment 5. So amendment 5 is actually verbatim identical to amendment number 3, except for the yellow highlighted provisions, which take 450,000 out of that original amount that was allocated to the capital outlay matching fund. It's taking 450,000 out of that, and it's also taking 526,131 out of that. And the remaining amount, once you take those two amounts for the veterinary program and the animal control program, the remaining amount is $2,202,869. And this is what we mentioned verbally. We discussed it just before the 20-minute break. We talked about that with Ms. Lisa Jim from OMB. So anyhow, this amendment 5 takes care of everything that was done in amendment 3, and then it fixes the allocation to the capital outlay match funding and accommodates the two amounts going to those two programs as requested by Delegate Crotty. I hope that clears things up. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislative Council. Back to the committee members. We have a motion. Honorable Crotty, do you have a follow-up question?
No, Chair, we're just taking the seat on this. Okay. I'll continue with my motion. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We have Amendment 5 that was read into the record. Second for the Amendment 5. Second going once.
This is Delegate Brown.
Delegate Yellowhair for second.
Do we need second?
Delegate Yellowhair.
I heard Honorable Brown seconding the motion. Honorable Brown will be recognized for seconding the motion. Committee members, any questions on Amendment 5? No questions on Amendment 5. Shanetta, round the horn.
Chair, Vice Chairman, roll call vote for amendment number 5. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green too.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Marcotte, how do you vote?
If I may, I'm having a very difficult time hearing the vote count. I'm sorry.
Please don't interrupt. We're in the vote call. Yes, we'll call the numbers. Shanella, would you please raise your voice a little bit for the record? I don't know if it's being picked up. Continue your voting count. Thank you.
Sure, Vice Chairman. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Marcotte, how do you vote?
Yati Sada, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Marcotte, and I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Marcotte votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Vice Chairman, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, and Vice Chair not voting. Vice Chairman?
Thank you for that roll call vote. Amendment 5 passes with 501. Therefore, we're back to the main motion. Committee members, on the main motion, we have a motion and a second on legislation number 0182-21. Back to committee members. I don't hear any questions or concerns or any amendments being proposed. Second reading on the legislation. Shada, second reading.
Okay, thank you, Chair and Vice Chair. Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear. Here.
Okay, Amendment 1 to legislation number 0182-21. Members of the committee, the last paragraph that says renumber and reletter, I'll just wait until we finish the reading of all 5, and then I'll read that part because it's consistent throughout all the amendments. Okay, on page 6 at lines 15 through 21, delete the following paragraph in its entirety. And this language is overstricken. Land Acquisition Trust Fund. The Navajo Nation hereby waives certain provisions of the Navajo Nation Land Acquisition Trust Fund, LATF. Specifically 16 NNC Section 1 and 205, Section 205, to the extent that such provisions do not allow the use of LATF funds for operational expenses for the Division of Natural Resources or its departments and programs. The Navajo Nation Council hereby appropriates LATF funds in the amount of $241,189 from Business Unit 415000, Land Acquisition Trust Fund, for the Division of Natural Resources as shown in the attached Exhibit J, to remove Exhibit J in its entirety. Okay, so going to Amendment 2. On page 1, lines 15 and 16 make the following changes. Comprehensive budget, waiving 12N and C. Underscored language is section 820F, and then continuing with existing language 820I, section 860, section 840B, and then overstricken is 12N and C, sections 2001 at SEEK, and then continuing on with existing language and resolution number CF 0711. 2 on page 4, line 27 and line 28 make the following dollar amount correction. Overstricken is $6,108 or $6,108,718. New language is $6,108,728. 3, replace the original Exhibit H and Exhibit I with the new Exhibit H and Exhibit I provided by the Office of Legislative Counsel. on page 5, starting at line 19, add the following new paragraph. K, UUFB fund. Regarding the UUFB, the Navajo Nation recommends that $20 million be set aside for the fiscal year 2023 budget, which amount is consistent with the 3 branch chiefs agreement dated June 18, 2021, and with Navajo Nation Council Resolution number CN 88-20. And then going to amendment, I'm not sure, Legislative Council, do I read Amendment 3? It'll just be overstricken in its entirety because Amendment number 5 replaced Amendment 3.
Peggy, is that a question to Legislative Council while you're trying to read the second reading?
Yes.
Legislative Council, may you interject for the question that's posed by advisor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct. Again, as I mentioned, with Delegate Crotty's question, the easiest way to amend the amendment, so to speak, was to simply pull Amendment 3 in its entirety and then add back the language with the corrected provisions regarding the applications to the veterinary livestock program and the animal control program. So yes, 3 is basically supplanted by 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So going to Amendment 4, Amendment 4 becomes Amendment 3 then. So 1, in Exhibit H on page 4, add the following new condition of appropriation after the paragraph pertaining to the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. New language, Office of the Controller, OOC, and the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. 1, the OOC and OMB shall create appropriate business unit numbers for all capital improvement projects and other projects that have been fully funded with Navajo Nation Council appropriations during fiscal year 2021 and in the comprehensive budget for FY 2022 and funded with other federal, state, or private funds. By the end of the second quarter of FY 2022, the OOC and OMB shall provide a joint report, both verbal and in writing, to the Budget and Finance Committee regarding the streamlining and expediting of the issuance of business unit numbers for said projects. 2, in Exhibit I on page 6, add the following new legislative concern after the paragraph pertaining to the Office of the President and Vice President, OPVP. New language, Office of the Controller, OOC, and Office of Management and Budget, OMB. 1, the OOC and OMB should immediately create appropriate business unit numbers for all capital improvement projects and other projects that have been fully funded with Navajo Nation Council appropriations during fiscal year 2021 and in the comprehensive budget for FY 2022 and funded with other federal, state, or private funds. By the end of the second quarter of FY 2022, the OOC and the OMB should provide a joint report, both verbal and in writing, to the Budget and Finance Committee regarding the streamlining and expediting of the issuance of business unit numbers for said projects. 3, in Exhibit H on page 3, delete the entirety of paragraph 6 as follows. And this language is overstricken. 6, by the end of second quarter FY 2022, the DPS director shall reestablish the DPS Drug and Gang Task Force. So then going on to Amendment 5, which becomes Amendment 4 to legislation number 182-21. Strike all of Amendment number 3 in its entirety and add the following to the legislation. On page 5, start at line 4, add a new paragraph in the body of the legislation as follows. J, Permanent Trust Fund. The Office of Management and Budget has reported by memorandum dated August 31, 2021, that the permanent trust fund account currently has generated interest income of $3,569,000, which amount is considered excess funds that are available for unmet needs. Of this amount, the Navajo Nation appropriates the following amounts. One, $3,000 to the 45 local governance certified chapters, certified pursuant to 26 NNC Section 102B in a total of $135,000 for use as a 3% general wage adjustment for chapter employees' wages and salaries for fiscal year 2021, and $3,000 each to each of the local governance certified chapters, $135,000 for the same purpose for FY 2022. Two, $120,000 to the Telecommun chapter for professional contractual services for the construction and installation of broadband internet equipment and provision of related services that will serve the Telecommun chapter and other nearby Navajo Nation communities. Three, $450,000 to the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture, Veterinary and Livestock Program, Business Unit number 112034. Four, $526,131 to the Navajo Nation Department of Fish and Wildlife Animal Control Program, Business Unit 115026. Five, the remaining amount of $2,202,869 is allocated to the Capital Outlay Match Funding Special Revenue Fund account. Two, in Exhibit E, add a new line item 18 at the bottom of the fixed cost budget summary table as follows. Column 1, new. Column 2, office rental NNHRC. Column 3, $30,481. Recalculate all totals as appropriate to account for the $30,481 increase appropriated via this amendment. Replace the original Exhibit E with the new revised Exhibit E that will reflect the changes described in this paragraph 2 and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 3, in Exhibit G, replace the $438,479 allocation to Business Unit 113014 Daltex to the city for senior citizen vans with $418,479. Insert a new line in the Personnel Lapse Fund allocations table showing the amount of $20,000 allocated via this amendment to Business Unit 109008, Office of Navajo Scholarship and Financial Assistance for the Nebazad College Fund -for students. 4, in Exhibit G, delete entirely the $88,479 allocation to Business Unit 115002, Grazing Officials Arizona only for Arizona Grazing Official stipends. Insert a new line in the Personnel Lapse Fund allocations table showing the amount of $61,393 allocated via this amendment to Business Units 108014 through 108027 Chinle Agency chapters for chapter official stipends. Insert a new line in the Personnel Lapse Fund allocations table showing the amount of $27,086 allocated via this amendment to Business Unit 107022 OOC Administration for temporary personnel. 5, replace the original Exhibit G with the new revised Exhibit G that will reflect the changes in paragraphs 3 to 4 of this amendment and will be provided by the Office of Management and Budget when available. 6, renumber or re-letter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel, with notice to the sponsors of this legislation, are hereby authorized to make technical edits to this legislation as necessary and appropriate to correct grammatical and or scrivener's errors, to correct numerical errors, so long as such edits effectuate the committee's intent in approving this legislation. This amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in any other committee amendment, which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. So that concludes the second reading. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Shada, for the reading of the amendments and second reading on legislation number 0182-21. We have a motion by Honorable Brown, second by Honorable Yellowhair. Ramona, another round of horn.
Chair, Vice Chairman. Roll call vote for the main motion on legislation number 0182-21. Honorable Jamie Henyo, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jamie Henyo votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green too. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Cardy, how do you vote?
Shade, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Cardy, and I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Cardy votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Vice Chairman, we have 5 members in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Vice Chair not voting. Vice Chairman.
Thank you for that vote. With a vote of 5-0, with 4 amendments passed, legislation does move on to the next level of the committee, which will be next week, and to the Navajo Nation Council, pursuant to the legislation the way it's drafted. Thank you, Arnold, for all the work and all the time that you have put into this effort to get 0182-21 passed with the Navajo Nation Budget and Finance. At this point in time, I will turn the floor over to Honorable Chair Henyo. You have the gavel.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, for picking the gavel and facilitating the meeting. Delegate Amber Kenneth-Cardy for being Madam Chair Pro Tem and to take care of business. Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, Delegate Nathaniel Brown, and Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Thank you. We've done our job here at Budget and Finance Committee with this legislation, and we take it to the full 24th Navajo Nation Council. With that, there's no other items on the agenda under new business. Therefore, we have to close the session, written reports, and adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Delegate Yellowhair.
Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, motion. Is there a second?
Second, Dr. McKay.
And Delegate Elmer P. Begay, second. So we do have a motion and a second to adjourn. And therefore, are there any questions, comments? We'll move towards adjournment. Ms. Ramona Nelson, if you would lead us in a roll call vote to adjourn.
Chair Chairman Henyo and the Budget and Finance Committee members vote on the adjournment. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Cardy, how do you vote?
Shade, this is Delegate Amber Kenneth-Cardy, and I vote green. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Cardy votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Chairman, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, and Chairman not voting. Chairman?
Thank you, Ramona, for leading us on that roll call vote. For the vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, Chair not voting. Motion carries. And also, along with the thanks, many thanks to our staff. Peggy Nakai, Ramona Nelson, Ms. Lorraine Tapahi, Mr. Dominic Bial, Lisa Jim, all of the staff at OMB. Thank you, the Navajo Nation Department of Justice, and also Office of Navajo Nation, Office of the Controller, for helping us along with this process, and all the staff within the Navajo Nation. Thank you. And therefore, let's move forward to passing that comprehensive budget. We are hereby adjourned at 4:30 or 4:34 p.m. Enjoy your weekend, and you're going to the flea market. Be safe,
and I shall see you over there. I'll go now.
Thank you, everybody. You did a great job from the committee, and also Lurleen and Ramona. Thank you so much for all your assistance. Vice Chair Smith, when will you be available to sign the committee report? I'll have that ready within, at least by 5 o'clock, with all of the amendments. It's pretty much ready. It's just need to finalize it.
This is Vice Chair Smith. I'm still around. I can wait till 5 p.m.
Okay, that's
I'm
great.
here.
Wishing. All right. So I'm